Why should I trust the church? It's a good question, especially with all the things you see in the news, when you see headlines about abuse within the church or moral failures of Christian pastors, or when you look back in history and you see some of the terrible things that have been done in the name of Christianity. It's a good question. Why should I trust the church? Maybe you think when you look at all those things that you shouldn't. Maybe you have your own experiences from the past. Maybe your church wasn't a place where you felt like you could ask questions. Maybe you felt like what you learned in church never connected with your life. Maybe the people in the church caused you to lose faith in it. So why should you trust the church? In a way, that's what this whole series is about. We're going to dive into some of your specific questions, but first let me answer that question. Why should I trust the church? Don't do it because of us. Don't trust the church because of Christians. See, when you give the Christian church another chance, whether that's here at Hope or at another Christian church, I'll tell you right now, we're going to disappoint you. We're going to try our best not to. Our goal is that you will never be disappointed in us as Christians, but the reality is it's going to happen. There are going to be people in the Christian church who disappoint you and who frustrate you. So if you're looking for a group of perfect people, you aren't going to find it in the church. So don't trust the Christian church because Christians are so trustworthy. Trust the Christian church because Jesus is. And He has entrusted the church with His mission of sharing His love with the world. He knows that we as Christians are broken and flawed and imperfect. But that doesn't mean that we're not His church. In fact, that as crazy as it sounds, that's part of His plan. He says this in 2 Corinthians 4, verse 7, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." See, Jesus knew the church was filled with imperfect, fragile people, but He trusted us anyway. He knows that we're fragile. He knows we're imperfect, and yet that's still where He chose to put His treasure. Because when you see a bunch of fragile, broken people coming together and learning that they can be themselves, that they can peel back the mask and be known for who they really are, they can be seen at their absolute worst and still be loved. When you see that, you see the treasure that's in those jars of clay. That's the treasure that Jesus is talking about, the message of the gospel. That's the message that you will find if you give church another chance. That you can be known, you can be open, you can be vulnerable, you can show who you really are and know that God loves you anyway. He doesn't just know the person you present yourself as to the world. He knows who you really are. He's seen you and He knows you at your worst, and He still loves you. That's a God that you can trust. And that God promises that He is actively at work in His church, as broken and as flawed as it may be. So why should you trust the Christian church? Don't do it because the people are so trustworthy. Trust the Christian church because Jesus is.